Well, in 36 years on the Agriculture Committee, I will say that I saw some progress, often glacial, but nevertheless. To put it very frankly, my dad was infuriated with Franklin Roosevelt because the farm policy then was to say he could only plant so many acres of corn and so many acres of soybeans on our farm. And the idea was that if you limited the supply, that the price would go up. Perverse as this may seem now, with an idea of trying to feed the world, at that point, the farm policy was one of trying to feed the farmers, at least to make the price go up a little bit. But in any event, the so-called Freedom to Farm bill that came along about 1996 finally gave me on my farm the option of producing as many acres of soybeans or corn or wheat or whatever I wanted to produce without stoppers. Now, I've often said the Agriculture Committee, and I hope this is not unkind, is made up frequently of a couple of farmers. Senator Grassley has been serving there for quite a while, and we claim to be farmers. And the rest looked to me like they might be lawyers for certain groups of farmers, cotton farmers or sugar farmers or so forth. And their role in that committee is not to take a look at the world, but it's to take a look at Mississippi or Louisiana or what have you. And I understand that. So we still have a farm bill that we passed in the Senate this past year. It will have to have new scrutiny again. But the idea was to move away from, as far as possible, from direct subsidies of specific crops to a farm insurance, a crop insurance idea. Now, this bill we passed only covers so much of the territory. A lot of people still really want the direct aid, so to speak. But it's a better idea. In other words, as opposed to my having certain target prices for my corn or beans or wheat, I can purchase crop insurance. And the federal government subsidizes the crop insurance thing to a considerable extent, but the subsidy comes really in terms of insurance, so that given climate change and wipeouts and so forth, people are not simply knocked out of business in a particular year, such as we had in Indiana, where my corn crop is back to the 40 bushels to the acre. And many point out that that's not going to be the last time this occurs. You can see weather maps given climate change, which parts of the country become warmer or cooler, and things are different, quite apart from around the world facing these problems. So I would say that at least the farm thing is becoming more sophisticated in the Senate bill. The House refused to pass any bill. So we're back at least not to the 30s, back to the 90s or thereabouts. I hope we'll make some improvements. But it's critical, as you point out, as I tried to make the point, as moral leaders in this situation. If we are hobbled by one subsidy after another, the sugar program being a prime example, in which I have constituents who produce candy. So they want the end of the sugar program. Well, if you're a sugar producer in Latin America, obviously you want the end of the sugar program. The only people wanting the sugar program are very few farmers who produce sugar and get a big subsidy for doing so. And that is not going to be morally defensible. And so development-wise, hopefully we'll make reforms in the Ag Committee.